Programming Basics. As you start to learn programming, there are some essential basic principles around programming that will be really important for you to understand. In this video, we're going to start by talking about sequencing. Sequencing in programming is putting into your program the necessary steps to do something, taking and understanding which order to put those in. Sometimes this can be a little bit tricky to understand at first. So I want to use an example of taking a classroom to teach you about sequencing. When I was a kid in school, we learned about sequencing, and we did it in a physical way. The instructor our teacher had organized the desks in the classroom in a certain way, and he gave each of us a chance to give someone else directions on how to get from one point in the classroom to the other. Now, the first person that was up said something like, "Go over there by the window and stand." And so it was really just this very simple statement for the person. But that's usually not the way a computer works. And our teacher taught us more about that we have to be able to tell the computer step by step by step what it needs to do. So here's the example we're going to use. Let's assume that these blue boxes represent desks in a classroom. So what I'd like you to do is, after I'm done speaking here for a minute, to push the pause button for this video and get a piece of paper out and to write down the sequence of steps that it would take for the little girl in the upper left-hand corner to get over and stand next to the little boy in the lower right-hand corner. Now remember, you're going to have to tell her every step to take. Assume that every desk is a step for her, whether it's to the right, to the left, up, or down. So once you've had a chance to do that, then we'll compare notes at the end. So you can press the pause button now, and when you've done writing down your steps, press go again, and we will continue. Okay, so I hope you've done what I'd asked. You paused the video, you got out a piece of paper, you wrote down the steps to get the little girl in the upper left-hand corner all the way over to stand next to the little boy in the lower right-hand corner. Well, here are the steps that I came up with. I put a small picture of what we had on the previous slide down here so you can see it. So the first thing that the little girl needs to do is she needs to take one step to the right. Then she needs to go down 1, 2, 3 steps. Then she's going to go another 1, 2, 3 steps to the right. 1, 2, 3 steps up. 1, 2, 3, 4 steps to the right. And 1, 2, 3, 4 steps down. And that should put her right next to the little boy. Notice as you went through this, as you were thinking about it on your own, and then as we went through it together, just how detailed your directions have to be. That is really important for you to remember as you go through and get an understanding of sequencing. With what you've learned from the little classroom experience, we're now going to go into an actual program and show you a little bit of how sequencing works. So I'm using Eclipse here, and this is a Java program. I've already set up the class. You'll learn more about that as you go along. But in this simple program, we're going to put some steps within the main and then run them to show how they work. So the hardest thing often for students is to know where to start. And so in this little example here of the girl moving from one side of the classroom to the other, let's just start by taking the steps that we went through, and we're going to display those. Okay, and in Java, the way to display something is using a system out print line. And then within quotes, you put whatever you want to be displayed. So we're going to start out by just saying, helping girl get to boy. And then we're going to have a series of these that tell us how to do that. So the first step we said was take one step to the right. Take 3 steps down. Take 3 steps to the right. Take 3 steps up. Just a couple more of these. Take 4 steps to the right. It's important that they're in the right order, otherwise she won't end up in the right place. And the last one here is take 4 steps down. So we're not going to actually see in a visual way her move or anything like that, but what we are going to be able to see is that this program goes through this set of steps. So we're going to run it, and we're going to show these steps. Helping girl get to boy. And so you see each of these steps in sequence. It's important to remember that a computer executes in sequence. Even an object-oriented program is executing in sequence. It may go out and get a block of code and then execute that in sequence, and then come back to the calling application or whatever, but ultimately it executes in sequence. I hope this helps you to get a very basic understanding of sequencing. In another video, we'll talk about how to then connect other things like variables and conditional statements and loops and stuff like that together, so that the sequence then has a lot more complexity and ability to solve a problem.